Hey everybody, long time no see. Um, you're probably wondering why I'm doing a Tony's Take after negotiations. And the reason is I am going to make a shameless plug for the RIFT fund that the executive committee of the union has created. So as you know, we're all getting paid, if you're a member of the bargaining unit faculty, a $3,000 lump sum for basically moving our entire curriculum online. And of that $3,000 lump sum, you're probably going to get about $1,800 in your pocket, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, depending on what tax bracket you're in. The reason we filed the grievance to get this money and ended up settling was because we knew that there was no way that the university was going to make a direct payment to the RIFT faculty. Once we realized this, which was pretty early on in negotiations, we racked our brains to try to figure out a way that we could help them financially. And this was one of the things that we found, that we earned money for putting our curriculum online and we hadn't been paid for it. So filed a grievance. We settled the grievance as part of this contract. We're each getting $3,000. What we're asking is that you consider strongly giving that $3,000 or $1,800, those taxes, to the RIFLess fund that we're in the process of creating. And I guess what I wanted to say is when you think about whether or not you're able to contribute to this fund, I ask you to think about two things. One, whether you expected to get this money at all. So I certainly didn't. And so for me, this was not something I budgeted for. It's just sort of a happy little windfall that I got for work that I did. I do recognize that if I take the money, the university co-owns my material for that course. And if they co-own that material, they could use that should I leave the university, or they could give that to another faculty member to help facilitate them teaching the same class. This may not be something you're willing to do. For me, it is something I'm willing to do. So I'm going to take the money. The second thing I want you to consider if you're taking the money is whether or not you thought there was a possibility that you would have been riffed last summer. Because I know for me, I definitely thought there was a possibility that I would be riffed. And I don't even know what I based that on. I racked my brain on what the criteria was for people to be riffed. And I didn't know what it was. I don't think any of us knew what it was. So I felt like any of us could have been on the chopping block. And had it been me, I would have had no income this year. And many of our colleagues have no income this year. They've had to scrounge together part-time jobs, unemployment, adjunct faculty positions, reliance on their own families and friends to help keep them afloat. And so this feels like a small thing I could do when I don't see their contribution to the university any less than my contribution to the university. I was just fortunate enough to make the cut for whatever lines of demarcation were made in my particular department. So yeah, I guess I just want you to think about those two things. One, is this money you depended on? And two, did you ever think you'd be riffed? Because if you did, you know that being laid off in July for a semester that's starting in August is untenable. I would not have been able to work. Maybe some adjunct work, maybe not, because the cycle for academic positions is 1 year. So if I think about this past summer, I get really perplexed, despondent, disgusted, depressed. I get all of these things thinking about the ways in which this whole list of people that had to be reduced came into play for us. If you remember, there was a long time that there was a list, we just didn't know who was on it. And that entire time, I wasn't thinking about ways in which I could help the people on it. I was simply thinking about, I hope I'm not on it. Now I could think about ways in which I could help the people that were on it. And I know it's late. I know it's probably minimal compared to what they need. But if all of us donate the 1800, they will end up getting what they probably would have gotten, or at least close to it, had we ratified the contract this past summer that had a severance in it. So I'm imploring you to consider doing this, to think about donating some, most, or all of your lump sum. If we all do it, I think there's going to be power in that. And I also think that'll lead to more people that aren't buff faculty to do it. So we're going to ask the administration, we're going to ask the chairs, we're going to ask staff, we're going to ask community members. So we're really going to have sort of a far-reaching campaign to get some relief. I still have a very difficult time thinking about this past summer. I hope that you do too. And I hope when you think about it, you're led to contributing something to the livelihood of the members of our community that lost their jobs. That's it. Back to teaching.